Hi, Suzanne. So glad to have you here.
So happy to be here. Thank you.
Welcome. And I've known Suzanne for 3+ years. We've been in the same and different book coaching groups. She's in a different small group than I've been in. Um, but we've had a way to connect at every large event. We've had a few moments to know each other's heart, I feel, at least from my perspective. And
Mm-hmm.
in some ways, I know you better than people I've been with for 3 years
Oh,
because I know your heart. And
mm.
other people, I know something else about them. So, um, Suzanne is known as a mental fitness coach. Never have heard that. I think maybe you coined that. I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah, you coined that. And she is an NLP, neuro-linguistic programming master coach and trainer. And I'm going to let you start with saying, what in the devil is that?
Yeah. Other than a mouthful, it is actually I'm celebrating 10 years ago that I took these trainings, and it came about as a result of me sabotaging myself and my business and my relationships. And I was trying to figure out what the heck's wrong with me. So I started to do neuro-linguistic programming. I found out about this course. I thought, you know what? I'll do it. So I took the course because not that it would help me, it would help me help my clients. Well, was I wrong? It was the thing I needed that I didn't know I needed. And it helped clear out some past traumas that I was carrying. It cleared limiting beliefs and things that weren't serving me. Um,
Let me just interject. So people, because it's a mouthful, then especially just the neuro-linguistic
yeah.
programming, before you get into trainer coach, um, neuro-linguistic programming started from Grandler and Binder. Am I saying it right?
You've got them mixed up, actually. You've so it's
Bindler and
Bandler,
huh?
Bandler,
Bandler?
and John Grinder.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Bandler and Grinder.
yeah, that's right.
And I heard about them years and years
Oh, really?
ago. Oh,
Oh,
the most
fascinating.
masterful Enneagram teacher I ever met. Um, he could find their Enneagram through listening to their words. And he studied with Bandler and Grinder. I
Yep,
might have mixed it up
it's
again.
all right. He and
But um, one day, this is just an aside, and we're going to deep dive into
that's okay.
Suzanne.
This is
But
fascinating.
one day, was seeing a client, and she said, "It landed on me," and that phrase caught my ear because it's not an expression I would use, but I was kind of caught by it. And I had my next coaching session. I was becoming a teacher of the Enneagram, and I studied with all the masters that were out there. And I did one-to-one coaching with him. And I said to him, blah, 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 something landed on me. He said, "Wait, you would never use a word like that. What is going, what just happened? Where did that?" He knew that was not my language. He understood my Enneagram so well, and that he could hear it in the words that I was taking an 8 on the Enneagram body language. It landed on me. That's a physical word. And I'm a feeling type, and my words always reflect that. And so, I mean, that was just a moment of genius, but he worked directly with them. And so he explained to us that these two guys studied therapy
Yeah.
and they figured out what worked the best from all of the therapies. And we all hear now, this is why this is so important. And I wanted to amplify what NLP is, because all of the great mindset work that is so popular now and is a a solution to trauma work by understanding more about the brain is based on the neuro-linguistic programming work that these two guys first did. And they're not getting the credit anymore. It's all this new, it doesn't matter. But it is important, just like when you're mentioning the source of your work, to give them honorary credit because it's a lineage. And it's like saying my ancestors have nothing to do with me when actually they do.
I agree.
So anyway, back to you and this amazing book. Yes, this book is out by two of my favorite people. You're meeting one of them now, and our mentor for writing the books is Sarah Cannell. And she wrote this book with Suzanne. So you get both of them when you buy this book,
Awesome.
or when you just even look at it or listen to Suzanne today, because she's going to give you a little piece of it later today. But it's called, if you didn't catch it there, The Millionaire Codes, the secret brain science path to supernatural success. And I just want to say now, before I forget, that if you have any stuck places, this book might be your answer. And it's not just for making money. It's great for removing the blocks to making money, but you can use this for any stuck place in your life. And there are so many different codes offered for wherever we are, or if I might be more a feeling type like I mentioned, and this other person more is a physical person, there'll be the codes for them and there'll be the codes for me.
Mm, I
So
love it. Mm.
yeah, so now just tell us. So okay, you skipped some stuff. I know you were going to put it in later. But you didn't just say, oh, I'm a coach and oh, I want to get better. Let's start with your backstory
Oh
and
my goodness.
then we'll
Okay.
understand
Ooh,
how you fell into, and I say fell into, you could say chose um, NLP because you were stuck in your background and then you were stuck as a coach until you found NLP.
that's right.
That's the way I'm
Yeah.
taking your history.
Yeah, because you read
So,
that part of my book.
yeah, I did. I
Yeah.
did, and I know you now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
It's
mean,
been,
yeah.
yeah, that's true. Um, yeah, I went around life going, what's wrong with me? What am I getting wrong? What am I missing? Like growing up that way. And
But not till 8. You said it started at 8.
um,
What was so good before 8 that
you
it
know what?
turned?
Yeah. Okay. So this is a significant emotional event in my family's life. So I don't think it's even in the book, Rosalind.
No, it's not because I'm like, what?
What happened when she was 8? And you, with your background, you want to know, right? I get it. I get it. Okay. Well, thank you for asking. I'm going to share with you. So until 8, so I was born, and then I had another sister, and we were 2 years apart. And then so mom was a stay-at-home mom, and the two of us and three of us were like this family unit. Well, dad was there, but he was working really hard. He was an entrepreneur in the film industry. So he was working really long hours. And then my youngest sister, Tina, came along, and she's 7 years younger than me. So I was 7 when she was born, and everything was still good. There was my mom and the 3 girls, dad working long hours, and we had a nice life. And then when I turned 8 years old, uh, my father's sister was killed by a drunk driver in a car accident with her husband. Horrific. Yeah. And they had had a son, and he was 2 years old. He also was in the car with them. He was flung from the car. He had a concussion and a broken pelvis and a broken leg at 2.
Oh my God.
So my father had been named by his sister as guardian. So my cousin came to live with us. So here's my mom, who's got 3 daughters, and now thrust upon her as somebody else's child, a little boy. She didn't understand how to raise a boy different from a girl? Why wasn't he potty trained? He's two. And anyway, so lots of
Mm.
stuff was coming up for
Everything
my mom.
changed.
Yeah.
Everything changed for
And
you.
she became very angry.
Mm.
And so one day I remember, doing what I always did, which was having fun and playing, because that's what all, children do. And the day came when I was fooling around and doing something that I shouldn't have been doing, whatever that was. And please, I can't remember what it was. But I do remember her coming in and saying, "What are you doing? I need you to grow up and
Mm.
help me take care of these children."
Mm.
And so an 8-year-old doesn't know how to be an adult other than look up to the adult in their life, aka my mom. Well, she was angry. She was very strict. She was, she was doing her best based on the Dr. Spock protocol that she had
Yeah.
learned in those days, because this was in the
Yeah.
70s now.
Yeah.
And so I learned to parent at 8 as being an angry parent.
Mm.
And then I didn't know how to do it. And then my siblings started to resent me. I didn't really know what those words all meant.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to do it. My mom, to soothe me and get me, she was so focused on the others, she would hand me a bowl of ice cream and say, "Go sit on the couch, watch TV."
Yeah.
So this is why I also started to gain weight at the age of 8. And the neighbors came down and said, "You've got to do something about that child." So now shame was laid on,
Yeah.
because my mom put me on the Dr. Atkins plan. Do you remember Dr. Atkins?
I
Where
do remember every single diet from that era.
yes. So now I'm on the Dr. Atkins plan, and, had deep shame
Mhm.
laid. I didn't know the word, didn't know what that meant about my
Mhm.
size in
Yeah.
comparison to my siblings, because they were all tiny little things, as had I been
Mhm.
before this traumatic
Yeah.
event
Do you
happened.
know that one of the Enneagrams, the family story, is about a child having to grow up so fast and with uh, in the midst of a family where it's right or it's wrong.
Yeah.
There's no room for being young and making mistakes. And so it makes total sense. And let's just all take a moment here because I'm sure everybody responded to that background, but let's bring it to our own backgrounds and let's bring it to a compassion for the child that we were in a world that didn't have words for what was going on. Maybe your parents drank, maybe somebody had an anger issue, maybe there was money insufficiency or food insufficiency. It doesn't matter. But let's just take a moment and feel the compassion for and toward our own child, because the work that Suzanne does will widen when we come at it with compassion for ourselves.
Powerful.
Thank you for sharing that because I read it. It was like, this isn't, I need another piece. Thank
Can
you.
I give you another piece? Because
Yes,
you might
please.
find it very interesting.
Yes,
So when my mom was 7, her mother died,
of course. Yeah.
and she was sent away to live with family members, sent out of her country. So my mom, I'm Canadian. My mom was born in Canada. She was sent down to Detroit
Oh
in the
boy.
States to live with family members, and wasn't able, and they took her passport, so she wasn't able to get back home, even though she ran away multiple times because she was not treated well. We'll
Oh
just
my God.
say it that way. She was
And
not wanted,
oh my God, the chills.
right?
Oh my God. Yes.
In
Yeah.
the exact same year, my father's father died when my
Ah,
father was 9.
oh my
This is
goodness.
so
There was a
fascinating to
match
me.
made in heaven for,
Absolutely.
right?
So wait. So then my mother's father was an alcoholic, and he couldn't handle his 3 children. So all 3 of them were separated and sent away.
Oh my God.
My father's mother was now she was the mother of 4 children. She now had a 15-year-old, two 5-year-old twin girls, and a 10-year-old, my father. She did
Wow.
what she thought was best. She kept the two girls with him. The 15-year-old was fine, her. And she sent my father away to the Masonic temple boarding school. So my father was sent away. So my father, while he still had a living, loving mother, she was not present for him
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
And so they were both outcast and raised in the systems.
Yeah.
And so when it came to my mom not knowing what to do
Of
to
course.
raise, she'd never been modeled how to be a loving parent. So she did what she thought was best. She read Dr. Spock. She heard
Yeah.
about discipline. So
And
like,
she was an adult before she got to be an adult. She was trying pretend. That's what little children do. They pretend. And so they take rules, but they don't know what it feels like to feel mature or to make a wise decision. And this time say no, and that time say yes, because that's what feels right. They're like they're in their heads or their bodies, or they're coming from rules,
yeah,
but they're not in their hearts because they can't afford to be
right.
because of the trauma.
Yeah. So I was talking, as this was all unfolding and I was doing the genealogy in my family and going, oh my gosh. And I was
Yeah.
starting to be aware of all this just a few years ago. And I said to my sister, who is a psychotherapist, by the way, I said, so we've had some trauma in the family. And she goes, you think? I went, oh, I always thought my childhood was idyllic. And I would have told you that. And in fact, I did. I remember telling my first therapist, I had an idyllic childhood. And she said, you sure about that? Like, really?
Yeah, because I didn't understand the how you could have been, and you can tell everybody with your first husband, but
Mm,
now I do.
hmm.
Now I do. You were used to anger.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, fill everybody in so they can join our conversation. So, oh, my heart is just bursting with gratitude that you're sharing this pieces that are not in the book.
No,
And you do,
because it was just
there's
too
a
much.
lot in the book, but
Yeah.
I can totally understand why you wouldn't share all the rest. That's more, for people who are in your inner circle or who can understand with wisdom. And for our listeners, there's that word epigenesis, which is a new word
Mm,
where it's actually in your genes. It's
hmm.
not just psychological, what happened to your ancestors. And a lot of people think that's woo-woo. But I mean, I talk in my book about 3+ generations of mothers judging their daughters, and everything in my body wanted to stop, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
Because it's stronger than will, it's stronger than your mind or your psychology. And so let's get back to you.
Okay.
So you had a fairly simple childhood, same mother, but she didn't have as much stress on her when it was the three daughters. So she functioned better, and you had an easier childhood. Then all this happened, and now let's fast forward to you meet this man. This is not in the book,
Oh,
but you marry someone. You,
okay.
what
Yeah.
was the initial attraction?
Oh, there's a little bit of backstory before that. So, I had gone to, I kept thinking, I want a boyfriend. I want a boyfriend. I want to belong to somebody. I want belonging, belonging, belonging. And I I met these two guys and I had good relationships with them. And then I thought, nope, that's it. This is not quite right. So
How old are you then?
I was 20. I met my first boyfriend at 20, and then I met a new guy at 2020 in 20 when I was 22-ish. And we dated for a number of years. And then he dumped me, the second guy. And I was devastated. And then I stayed, and then I met another guy and I met a couple of months. And then I thought, you know what? It's just easier being single. I'm just going to be single. So I was mid-20s single. Then my sister got married when I was 28. And my mom's brother said to her, I'm so disappointed that I didn't see your oldest daughter, Suzanne, walk down the aisle first. He was very old-fashioned, born in 1930s. And so my mom afterwards, she had shame about this. And she said, Suzanne,
Mm.
you really need to find a man and get married. Your Uncle Jack is very,
Rules, the rules.
oh, the rules, got to follow the rules.
Mm.
Exactly. So I'm like, okay, okay, I got to go find a man. Got to go
Oh
find a
my
man.
God.
And I still am very compliant, but I was also like, okay, mommy, whatever you want. To
But
this,
the contagion, everybody who's out there who's in Enneagram 1, see if you can learn more about how you were, or if you have a wing to one or an arrow to one, see how contagious it is when you feel following the rules feel safer and you get somebody else's rule. How does you pick it up like this, like Suzanne just did? I mean, noticing that because Enneagrams talk to other Enneagrams, we go beyond the personalities. So I bet your husband had an Enneagram that spoke to your Enneagram, but we'll wait to listen. Okay.
oh, okay. So then, um, so my mom said, go find a husband. So I went to a matchmaking company. They said, how much money do you have in your bank? I said, well, I have $1,600 in my bank account. She goes, well, that's such good news. That's exactly how much money you're going to need to spend. And I was like, isn't that amazing?
Ah,
Yeah, you can
right.
see it now. I'm going, oh dear God. Okay. So she set me up on a number of dates. And I was met with these very nice men, but they were just not that interesting. And then all at this time too, my father had, okay, I'm going to pause that story for just a second because now you'll understand even more why. So I was always seeking beyond belonging, seeking to know how to do it, what was wrong with me. And then my father, I was working in my dad's business for him. He was an entrepreneur in the film industry, did post productions and special effects on motion picture. And then he hired a guy, put his faith in a guy, an accountant, who ended up trying to put him into Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Like
Mm.
that's a whole other book,
Yeah.
Rosalind, of somebody who was trying to do mean things to my dad. And so I'm at this situation where my dad's business is potentially failing. It was a multi-million-dollar business. And I'm going, I need a guy who's going to take care of me.
Mm.
So because my dad's business,
Oh.
okay. So now I meet the first guy. I'm not going to say his name. The first husband, and he's driving a very expensive sports car. He's got Italian leather shoes.
Mm.
He's
Oh,
making
he looked the part.
good.
He looked the part.
He's making good money. He's making at that
Ah.
point in time. He was an actuary and had the potential to make really good money.
And
Um,
you had a rule you were following, find someone to take
find
care of
somebody to take care of you.
you. Yeah.
So I went, okay, well, he was missing a tooth. He was bald. He was kind of chubby. He was very hairy everywhere. Um, mm, well, he'll take good care of me.
Mm.
So when you said attraction, I'm sorry, I don't think there was an attraction.
Oh, but it was
Attraction.
psychic traction. Yeah,
Yeah.
not physical.
The damsel archetype inside of me was like, oh, he'll rescue me.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I brought him home to mommy. Mommy says, yes, this is a young man I can see you marrying. Great, check, done. So then we proceed, and there are all sorts of warning signals that this man is controlling. He's possessive. He's didn't want me to spend time with my friends. He didn't want me to spend money. He didn't want me to spend any time with family. He wanted me to have not do my crafts anymore, not do my working out anymore. So all of these signs I ignored because he was approved by mommy and he was going to take care of me. So
And
all
did
those signs.
he make you feel pretty or special in the beginning? Never, not.
Oh,
Sometimes that switches later.
in the beginning, did he assured me that my needs, we were going to have two children. I
Mhm.
always wanted to have two children. He assured me that we would have a beautiful home together. He assured me that I would have everything I wanted.
So he knew exactly what to speak to in you.
Oh,
You would be
absolutely.
taken care of. You weren't looking for someone for these other esteem. dynamics you were looking to be taken care of, and he matched. So he was dynamically entrained to you. He was like, he got you. He got
Yeah,
like it was a perfect match in that sense. Oh my
absolutely.
God. Yes.
So we got married, and it was interesting because he said he was Ukrainian Greek Orthodox. And he said, okay, you can have whatever you want with the wedding as long as we can have it in the Ukrainian church. I'm like, okay, great. So then, and then I said, oh, I can have everything else. So we agreed to the Greek Orthodox Ukrainian wedding. So the whole wedding was done in a language I don't understand. My girlfriend came up to me afterwards and she goes, how do you even know you're married? Because you couldn't understand anything. I'm
Yeah.
like, that's a good question. All of these things. And then he wanted to come with us. So he had said that I could, if I do what how he wants to get married in the Ukrainian church, I can have everything else. But then all of a sudden he's helping me. He wants to be there for picking out the bridesmaid dresses. And he
Mm,
wants to be there for picking out the venue. And he wants to be there for, and I was like, but by this point in time, I was just ignoring all the symbols.
yeah.
My parents came to me about 3 weeks before the wedding and said, we don't want you to marry this man. And please hear this. And if anybody's wondering not to do something, my thing, please listen, because I was thinking, well, we've already paid $1,000 for the hall, and I've paid
Practical.
$1,500 for
Yeah.
my wedding dress. We can't stop it. I have to go through. So $2,500.
Mhm.
Boy.
The rules, though, the rules, living by the rules of what's right and wrong.
So we got married. We lived together
And
for
what was their reason to tell you not to marry him? What did they see?
something was off. There was
They were
nothing
that
tangible.
intuitive,
There was intuitive. It was intuitive. It was not
but they
tangible.
saw something and they hadn't been very intuitive before, I'm getting, but it was something big that they felt.
I couldn't put words around it. And my
Maybe, yeah, they didn't have the words. Maybe they even noticed how you were shrinking. You probably already started shrinking because it didn't happen overnight.
shrinking and gaining weight.
Yeah, power loss, but getting bigger. Yeah.
Right. And I was no longer doing the things that I loved doing.
Yes.
I was,
Because you were being compliant to his
yeah,
rules.
right, right. His rules,
Yes.
which were sometimes against my parents' rules, which was very hard for me.
Yes. Yes.
So we lasted 1 year and 6 days because follow the rules. You have to at least do it. Give it a year, Suzanne.
It sounded, when I read the book, like so much longer.
It
Like it
did.
sounded like an eternity. I don't think you said how long it was in the book. And in our conversation about it, I was imagining 5 or 10 years, even though I didn't think about exactly. It was so long in your heart,
Oh yeah, it was interminable.
hard on you.
Yeah, like we were together for a year, then engaged for like together for a year and a half, engaged 6 months, married a year. So
But
3 years.
but maybe it's because he was with you so much longer after you left. So
Oh
tell me
my gosh.
about that.
His voice was in my head for years, 20 years, another 20
20
years.
years. That's why I felt you were married longer. Yeah.
Yeah, 20 years.
Yeah. So everybody take that in. Whose voice is in your head? I think that's a great way to express somebody's influence. Suzanne, you probably remember John Bradshaw, right? Do you
Yeah.
remember him? Okay, some people aren't old enough to remember him. He's a person who brought family dynamics into everyday people's language. But here's something he would do, which I can still remember. Picture this as a table, this pad, and my drink your drink is over here. John Bradshaw would say, my Uncle Stephen says, please move your drink inside the table because it's making me nervous. He would
Mhm.
name who that message was, who it belonged to, so he could release it from himself. It's not me, John Bradshaw, nervous about the drink. It's Uncle who taught that to me. And
Mm.
that's a very effective shorthand. To
Mm-hmm.
say, oh, that was the husband. Oh, that was the mother. Oh, that was the mother and father. Oh, that was the people who took care of my father, and so on, if you can. But sometimes you can.
Mm.
And especially when it doesn't feel good. You could do it when it feels good too, and that makes it even more interesting. Like, is this really my passion or did I pick up somebody else's? But that's
Mm.
anyway.
I love that.
Okay, let's go back to so you're with him. How do you get out?
Ah, so I remember just having, this is interesting because um, I actually had my first introduction to neuro-linguistic programming was at a conference in 2009, and the facilitator, Dr. Michael Hall, said, "Who here has had an experience that changed them so dramatically that they were one person before the experience and another personality after?" And yeah. And this woman put up her hand and she goes, "Well, I was a smoker for blah, blah." And he goes, "Yeah, okay." And he said, "You." And I said, "Well, I was a dynamic, fun loving, confident woman. And then I was in a marriage. And then I became a shell of myself." He goes, "You, I want to talk to you." So I get up on the front of the stage and he says, "Okay, so take me back to what happened." And I gave them what I've given you, the brief overview. And then he said, and I said, "And I left 1 year and 6 days after I got married." He goes, "Okay, well, when did you decide to leave?" And I said, "I heard this intuitive voice in my head that said, when you get back to work, you're going to tell everybody how you left your husband," because I was on vacation. I was like, "Well, that feels weird, but no, it's not a bad idea." And he goes, "No, no, no. You would have been thinking about it beforehand." And I went, okay. So he walked me back. And I remember it was, I don't know why, Rosalind, but the date, June 16th. So the day I left him was July 27th. The day June 16th popped into my head and I could see myself. This is the power of NLP. We get back to an event and I could see myself sitting on the back deck of our home that we had purchased together and in the marriage. And I had gone to the grocery store and I had bought two magazines, not one, but two. Now, he was very much controlling of the money that I spent because I spend money. I like spending money. And I lied to him. I said, when I bought this one magazine, I could get this other one free. He goes, "Oh, that's a good decision." It was not true at all. I bought both of them. And I used cash so he wouldn't know.
Mhm.
And I remember sitting on that back patio reading these two magazines in the sunshine and the warmth and going, this is what my life could be like without him.
Mm,
This is what life is supposed to be like.
mm,
And then I went back into it. We started to paint the house, and he was vicious to me. He was throwing things at me. He was yelling things at me. He didn't know how to paint a house. I had gone through college pro painters painting exterior houses, so I knew how to paint houses. And I was doing most of the work while he was sitting on his butt doing not much. And the most impactful moment, and this is what really helped to tip me over the edge. So I'd had the knowing, the feeling of it in June, the intuitive hit in just a couple of days beforehand, and then, but it became solidified when Julie, the neighbor, and I talk about this in the book, she came down the street and she greeted him. He was sitting towards the end of the driveway cleaning the brass hardware from the front door, and I was off to the side puttying the window and before you paint it. And she came along and she goes, "Hi, my name is Julie. I live down the street. See that house right over there? It's 4 houses down. It's number blah blah. I can't remember the number. And see, it's the one with the car. If you ever need anything, please let you know. We're just gonna now. My husband and I are going to be away for the next 2 weeks, but my son Christopher is going to be home. If you ever need anything." And just the way that she was talking, I realized
she
she
knows.
knows. She's 4 doors down. If she knows what's happening in this household, 4 doors down, what do the other neighbors know?
By the way, I thought it was a man because in the book you say a neighbor. I pictured
Oh,
a man. Isn't that interesting? I
yeah.
pictured kind of a burly man who would be able to strong arm your husband. And I'm even more touched that it was a woman. And she said, if you ever need help. And I fell in love with that person,
Oh, you know what? Yeah,
right?
Julie.
Right. And
She's an
so,
angel. She's an angel.
an angel.
She
And
was embodied in human form. Yeah.
and we can pause here again and look at the delicate way she put it. She even did it in hearing distance of your husband because it could be taken on so many levels. If there's anything you need, if you ever need help, like there are ways to approach somebody hurting a child at the airport or something you witness at the grocery store that doesn't intervene with the person being angry. There's a gentle way to say, here's my number if you ever want to talk, or there's something. Let's follow that up and follow Julie, if that's her name, and have her lead us into the way to intervene, because look what it did for you. And you know so often the woman screaming in the grocery store that's making everybody cringe and back up also feels shame. So how can we intervene and be an angel?
Mm,
Yeah.
I love that.
Mm.
Mhm.
So okay, deep breath. So Julie tells you that you take it really seriously. You hear her words, and you're also thinking, and this helping you, how many other neighbors know. And if so many people know, what I heard you imply is, what am I not knowing or doing if
Mm.
everybody else is there?
Right. Right. Yeah.
Like, am I
Seeking out.
behind
Yeah.
everybody else who's
Yeah.
something needs to happen here?
So
Yeah.
that night we went to bed. I was tired. I was exhausted. Now, I haven't said this to anybody, and I do respect that it is being recorded. Um, he demanded sex every night, and I I was exhausted because we were physically painting the house. And I was in human resources, so I was sitting at a desk all the time. And remember, not allowed to work out
Mm.
anymore. So I was exhausted. And so we fell asleep that night. And the next morning we wake up and he says, "You're going to make a terrible mother." And oh, by the way, the first date, he said, "Yeah, we'll have children." We got married a couple of months later. He says, "I don't want to have kids." And then he throws this at me the day that I left. And he says, so this was the day after Julie had gone to sleep. I'm still kind of thinking about that. We wake up. He goes, "You're going to make a terrible mother." And I'm like, "Why?" And he goes, "Because you didn't touch me all night long." I'm like,
Mm.
"Well, I was tired. And besides, I remember thinking, I don't want to have children with this man."
Mm.
And then as soon as I realized that I don't want to have children with this jerk,
Mhm.
why am I here?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, but I knew enough that I wouldn't be able to just leave because we'd had
Mhm.
enough physical altercations that that was not going to happen. So I knew I had to get him mad enough to kick me out of his
Mm.
house that was in
Mm.
my name as well, but I had to get him mad enough to kick me out. And sure,
Wow.
yeah. So I just said, "Newsflash, I'm not having kids with you," like that. And he did not appreciate that belligerence, that sass, that talk back. And so I went into the closet, and by this point in time, this is about the 15th time I've left him.
Mhm.
And I packed that bag like a boss because I tell you, I can get a whole lot of stuff in a pet carry-on. And I packed that bag. I took as much as I could. I walked out of the house. And what was a miracle to me to this day was that he was always really careful. He would put my car first in the single car driveway, and his car would be behind mine.
Oh my
That
God.
day, for some unknown reason, my car was behind his,
Wow. Oh my God, divine intervention, right?
right?
But why
I
didn't he slap you around when you said that about you didn't want children with him?
Oh,
Why
he
did,
did.
oh, he did, but
Oh, hell yeah. I
oh,
had bruises all
oh,
over me. Yeah. I left and was able to show bruises
uh-huh.
and hold marks. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh yeah. Oh, he was a real nasty piece of work. I had broken bones on our honeymoon. He had kneed me so hard in the ribs that I had broken bones. He
Oh,
had hit me so hard with his wedding ring on the side of my head that I had
oh,
a goosebump. It took 20 years for it to become less sensitive to the point where I could have people be able to wash my hair in the
wow.
in the salons.
I still don't know how you got out of the house. You were in the closet, but how did you
Oh, I
get
was
out?
in the closet and then but he was mad. He's like,
He was
"Get
mad, so he walked
out
away.
of my house." He
Oh,
kicked me out,
he
knowing his car was going
just
to be
the
behind
way you.
mine.
I'm sorry.
Knowing his car was going to be behind mine, or thinking his car was behind mine, he kicked me out, just out
Oh,
of the house. So I would be walking around shameful without
oh,
having a shower and without being fully, completely dressed. I got to so anyways, I got in the car and I had longer hair, the same hair kind, and, but darker in those days. And, I had this great big huge lump on the top of my hair because I hadn't properly put it up. I had just sort of thrown it up and I like, and I went, oh dear God. I got to the um so I was in the car and I drove to the gas station and I had to find a payphone. This was in 1997. I had to find a payphone because we shared a cell phone and he kept that, of course. So I had to find a payphone. I called my parents. This is also interesting. This is more divine intervention. So it's Saturday morning in the middle of the summer, July 27th. I now know, but I didn't remember it at the time because I was in my own drama and trauma. It was also the anniversary of the day that my parents first met, July 27th. So they were celebrating their first meeting, their first date. And so their Saturday morning routine was in the summertime, they would be up at our summer cottage and they would get up in the morning and they would drive into town, which is about 30 minutes away, and do the shopping and get supplies, and then they would go and have a lovely lunch, and then they would drive home and they would have the afternoon. So it was just mom and dad at the cottage. And this was probably about 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning, so it was unusual for them to be at the cottage. And so what had happened is, while I was going through my stuff, my dad had turned to my mom and said, let's just get the groceries. And then I want to just go back to the cottage. Mom goes, but that's not our routine, Michael.
yeah.
He goes, yeah, but I really just don't feel like doing that. I just want to get back to the cottage.
Oh my goodness.
So she's all huffy, right? I don't want to go back to the cottage. This is a special day for us. Why do we have to go back to the cottage? But, that's what he wanted. So they went back to the cottage. The phone was ringing. The landline was ringing as dad
Wow.
was walking into the cottage, and it's me.
Oh my God.
And he's picking up the phone. He goes, hello. And I said, hi, Dad. I've left him. Left who? Now, my parents are also aware that he had been
Yeah.
abusing me. Left who? My husband. Where did you leave him, Suzanne? No, Dad. No, Dad. I've left my husband. I'm going to file for divorce. He's like, okay. Come to the cottage. Come to the cottage. So I'm like, because I'm like, all I have is my car, right? I'm like, I have my car. I owned it. But now what? So I drove up to the cottage, and then um and then I never saw the first husband again, ever. The lawyers handled the rest. I talked to him a couple of times, and then
I
the
know you
lawyers,
were afraid of him. It's in the book for years that he would find you, and
yeah,
now we can all understand why.
because he would threaten to kill me multiple times during the relationship. You'll never leave here alive. You will, you'll be nothing without me. There was a whole lot of rhetoric that was in my head that was negative, his voice. Um,
Oh my God, Suzanne, I'm so feeling gifted by your sharing so deeply, because that's the people in this community are deep. It's
mm,
not a huge community, but we're deep. And we treasure people's openness and stories. I want to give our community a chance to see how the concepts in NLP, any one of them can open us up. And there is a methodology that we can't do deeply here
yeah,
because of the boundaries of it being just a call. Um, but you're going to talk to us a little bit about boundaries. We didn't get into the how did you find NLP? They'll have to read the book for that. But we got the juicy parts. But I thought just now, tell us a little about boundaries. There are a couple pages in the book. Everybody knows the words,
Yeah.
but we had a little boundary between us. I had suggested, we didn't plan any of this, but I suggested just as a coordinated effort, maybe we should have someone that Suzanne worked on to demonstrate NLP. I said, I can do it. I have an issue that's not, we know each other, so she knows I'm not going to fall apart. But I wouldn't pick an issue that's a 10. I would pick an issue that's, between a 3 and a 5 on the scale of upset. Or I could have my assistant come, who's a great participant, and she could work on money issues to reveal how the codes could help. Or I gave her another idea, and she wrote back in her power, very friendly, actually, no. That won't work. And I don't remember the words, but she said she didn't use the word ethics, but she has some things she likes to put in place before she works with someone for safety. Now that's a boundary. I'm saying, let's do this. It's my podcast, so quote unquote. There's a risk there in boundaries when one person sets a boundary that the other one won't like it or turn on you or take it away, right? And I went, oh, yeah, makes sense to me. Someone protecting ethics. I know ethics. I probably wouldn't, I mean, maybe I would because I'm a daredevil, but it wouldn't be cautious to work with somebody. If somebody like Suzanne assured me that they aren't going to probably fall apart and that I might do it, but just because I might do it, I totally respect Suzanne in her power. Now, look at that. She just spent a lot of time telling us how she didn't have the power of her voice, how she acquiesced as a child, first to her mother, then to the family dynamics, the history, then to her husband. And look, I mean, I'm a pretty strong person.
Oh,
I'm told. I mean, I thought I was telling somebody once I'm very gentle. She said, "Well, your voice might be, but no, you're a big
you're a
personality.
powerhouse.
You're
Yeah.
a powerhouse." She said the same thing. I don't experience myself that way because I don't think of it as power over.
Right.
And so I was perfectly willing to see Suzanne's side of it. And so we dropped that and we went with her idea. And so tell us a little bit about why people don't put down a boundary.
Oh my gosh. I think it's a people pleaser thing. In fact, most of the people that I've worked with who come to me, they're not making the money that they want. That's typically the work that I do is most people are like, I'm not making the money that I want. I don't have the relationship that I want. Something's not going well. How do I move forward? And what I've seen is typically people want to please, people want to be acquiesce, they want to follow the rules, they want to get along, go along to get along. And they give away parts of themselves to others by not standing firmly in their own power and just doing.
You said something in the book. I dropped so I don't want to bend down and get it,
Mm.
but it's that if you don't want drama in your life, and now this surprised me. I know a lot about boundaries, but this sentence surprised me. Can you read it? Do you have it there? It was like if you want drama in your life, keep not having your boundaries, because this is the thing that I hear the most from people who don't want to stand in their truth, which is
Mm.
what I see as boundaries, standing in your truth. And they tell themselves they're peace lovers. They don't want to create conflict. Tell me what that sentence is, if you can find it, and tell me what it means, please.
If you're still deciding that the answer is no, then I have one more thought for you. Do you enjoy having drama in your life? If you do, then the best way to keep the drama going is to not set boundaries.
Tell me, what does that mean?
Okay,
That's
so when you
crazy.
set strong and clear boundaries with communication, the drama will disappear.
How?
Okay.
What if my person so let's say I never say no to my partner. I acquiesce. I act like you say a people pleaser. Then we have no fights, right?
Until Mount Vesuvius erupts later on of after all of the little picky things, and then you finally just lost it, and then you blow
So
and
that's the
thinking, what
gunny
did I
sack.
do wrong?
That's, you put every little thing in the gunny sack. You're not going to talk about it. How many people relate to this? I think if we were to pick one Enneagram that's the biggest in this community, it's the one that would not, who believes they're keeping the relationship on the level by not expressing
By
their,
sacrificing self, by
yeah.
putting your everybody else's needs before my own. No.
Yes, but there's a martyr thing there, but they don't, but it's not seen as a martyr. It's seen as an elevated, I'm conflict avoidant. Like that's a higher level of spiritual or psychological. Really, but I mean, understand that it's a defense. That's why
Yeah.
someone said that. They need to defend what they're going to do and their identity. It becomes an identity, Suzanne, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. The more, and I love what Louise Hay said about boundaries, which is the only people who are going to be offended by you setting boundaries are those who are taking advantage of you.
Oh boy, that's a big one. And then you go on to say they know they're using you. And that's very direct. And then you say they won't admit it. But then when you try to change, they won't accept your boundaries. And I want to add, until they will.
Right.
When you are stronger in your boundaries and you're not willing to go back, most of the people, I don't think your first husband would because he was not interested in that kind of growth.
Right.
But most more typical people who are not so far on the continuum of abuse and control would want to keep the relationship. They first just try to have it be the way they used to know it.
Yeah.
Suzanne, I'm so aware of time. I'm loving every moment. If I get a lot of requests, will you come back?
Oh, I would be delighted. This was amazing. Thank you. This
It
is
was
where I thought we were going to
amazing.
go. And thank you for sharing. Thank you for creating a safe place where I felt that I could share all of my wounds that have
Oh,
now
I'm
been healed. But thank you.
yes, I'm so touched that you have and that you did, and for showing up with all of you, because you could have done a professional job here and it would have been great, but our hearts wouldn't be as involved. And I do believe that more people will come to you and get the gifts of the book because you shared your heart. We do know people are longing for connection, and
Yeah.
we can't connect just from our heads and concepts. It just, I mean, the book is great, has a lot of great stuff, but that's not what people, first people want to connect, then they'll get the gifts. So thank you. On the email that we send out, we will have all the information about how to connect to Suzanne. And I would just love, and so would Suzanne, for you to follow up with anything. She offers a free, do you call them a coffee match or discovery call or
I call them a clarity session.
clarity
Yeah.
session, right? And that would be it. Like, are you
Yeah.
a good match to work together, or just if you have anything that you want to say to Suzanne, you can send it to me and I will pass it on. We don't give out her email, but you can connect to her through her website.
Absolutely. Thank you. Mm,
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
thank you.
Love
Mm.
you so much.